I've actually reduced, and I'm sharing this with you now for the first time, like live on this, but I've actually reduced payouts in the business, and I'm keeping more cash in the business for the event of a rainy day, something happens, we're going into a recession, then I can deploy that capital towards like investments, or I can acquire clients for less or lower my margin and still be able to pay my employees. So I'm kind of like conserving cash right now, stopping all the stupid expenses and the payouts that we don't really need, because I can live off of a lot less than I get paid. Right. And I'm making sure the business is okay. And then my personal, I'm stacking cash for the opportunities in real estate or the other opportunities that come in, or businesses that are found that I can take over and I can, install somebody and make that profitable during that time with something that I have expertise with. So I'm getting ready for this thing. So you as an entrepreneur, or even like your personal, you should be, I don't know about conserving, like if a good deal comes up, buy it, but like I'm getting ready to look for the opportunities and survive if I need to. And hopefully this never happens and the recession's not bad and we don't have to worry about it. But I'm going to be able to pounce on the opportunities when they come along.
You brought up a really good topic. Like, hey, we're going into a recession. That's what everybody's talking about. That's what we're seeing. That is what is happening. We're in it right now. So it'd be good to talk about how to handle, a recession. Now, neither one of us has actually been in business during a recession. I started Legion in 2012, so a couple years out of it. I was like just graduating college during the last recession. You weren't in business then either, but we have had the pandemic with the gyms, and in the last couple of years, as well as like just studying and knowing people that have been successful. And actually, it was cool that we chatted about it, because I was lifting with my buddy yesterday, and he's good friends with the founder of Coachella.
Wow.
And they do some stuff together, and we were just kind of talking about like over the last couple of years, how, our views have shifted and what we're trying to do moving forward and stuff like that. And he was telling me that the founder of Coachella actually said, last recession is where he made like his money and where he really struck it big. And that's like what you and I talk about when we hear from so many people. Yeah, obviously a lot of people got banged up hard last time.
Right.
But during a recession is where there's so much opportunity. Whereas most business owners, most entrepreneurs, when they go into that situation, like we saw during the pandemic, they shut down. They shut off. They turn off marketing. They do these things. Whereas I think you and I, taking a look at those that have been successful from the conversation we have, and then seeing also the results of what we did during that period, are going into this with a much different approach. And I would encourage most people, if you're listening or watching this, to go into this not being like, oh shit, I have to clam up and, I got to restrict certain things, but say, hey, how can I actually use this time to potentially set my family up for generations?
Well, question for you too, right? How much money is out in the world, right? How much money is printed right now in the United States? Like, we don't know, but there's a set amount, right?
So much. Yeah.
In a recession, does that money disappear?
Still there.
It's still the same amount of money. It's literally still the same amount of money. So during a recession, and when you're not in a recession and you're in an economic boom, there's the same amount of money in the United States that there was either time. So what Bob's saying is going into it with the right mindset. And I think that, an abundance mindset and an offensive mindset instead of a defensive strategy, I think is the thing. So just understand that 100%. The money's still there. You might have to do different things or operate differently to get it, but the same money's there.
Money's the same. So, and even a way to look at that too is money's on a discount in a way, because with this recession, we're going into two things. One, baby boomers are retiring. So there's a lot of awesome businesses that maybe aren't as sexy as like internet money kind of shit that you and I do, but more that brick and mortar, really service-based, like a lot of baby boomers that have those businesses are going to be retiring. And going into a recession during that time might mean that those businesses are up for grabs at an even better rate than they were before. Whereas a couple of years ago, when everything was exploding and everything was overvalued, where people were paying more than they really should be, now you're going to be going in a time where you can actually get something as a steal. Yeah. The same amount of money is still going to be in circulation. How you approach your messaging is going to be different. The psychology consumer is going to be different. So you have to adapt and change, but it doesn't mean that there's not a ton of opportunity there.
Right.
And we're, we look back at the pandemic, and that's what you and I were talking about, is one of the things that we did differently. So Legion as a brand, we did differently is we noticed that when gyms were down and a lot of uncertainty was happening, that the other gyms like immediately turned off their ads.
Right.
They just kind of, they went inside and they were scared and they were like, I don't know what to do. We were like, hey, let's keep our ads on. We're going to keep marketing. We reduce our ad spend at all, which then meant that since nobody else was marketing, there was less noise. We were the ones who were being seen by everybody. So we essentially were to spend the same amount of money and get even more reach and create more opportunity. And as a result, like, you were profitable at your gyms throughout that's like where your growth came from, was through the pandemic in your gym.
But the service we provided was actually an essential, right? So people were like, hey, we're turning everything off. They went in, self-preservation mode, like, oh, we have to just fire everybody, sit inside and do nothing for these next 9 months or whatever, and just hope the business survives. Well, bills are still due. Like, landlords maybe give you a break, but like, we had an essential product. Like, people didn't. So during the pandemic, like, people were getting out less. All the gyms were shut down. Like, they needed us more. So it was like, why would we stop marketing to get more clients and help people? They need us more now than ever. So if we would have played defense, like, not only would we have, not been profitable and probably not survived, but we wouldn't have been able to help the people. And I've told you this. I told you last night, like, the pandemic and doing those live streams and all the Legion gyms coming together and branding together, it was one of my favorite times in business.
Yeah.
Hands down. I just enjoyed the camaraderie. Everybody bonded together. We were all in our homes, but we were still working out. We were still, hitting our fitness goals. And it was just such a great sense of community. And I believe truly that if we played defense, there would be a lot of people with more mental issues and problems, right? I think that we helped people get through the pandemic by what we did. So it's not just a monetary thing. Like, I believe that we've helped people because it helped me get through. I'm a social butterfly. I got to be out. I'm an extrovert. And that helped me get through it. I could communicate and be with everybody and have a community and joke and post. And we're all doing lives and workouts together. We were getting healthy and having fun. So like, if we would have went into defense mode, A, we would have probably went out of business, but B, we wouldn't have been able to help and solve these issues for the community.
And so for context, we should kind of give some backstory on that. Whereas so we're in the gym game. Angelo has a different company now. Actually still has his gym. But like back then, we were in the gyms and we saw the shutdowns were happening. The cool thing is we were able to see that happening ahead of our competition, ahead of everybody else. Right. We were maybe ahead of it just by like a couple days. But we knew that shutdowns were going to happen. Now, for us, like, I had 8 gyms, 50 employees, a ton of franchisees that were open. So it's not like we just like, all right, cool, like, this is it. And most of the franchisees, like, you just opened right before this happened. So
yeah, we were October, and this hit in February.
Yeah. So it's like, once we saw that this was happening, it wasn't like, all right, let's like wait and see what happens and hopefully we get through it. It's like, shit, we have to make it through it. So 2 things that I realized is, one, I have to make sure that I set the brand up for success and I lead the brand through this because there's going to be a lot of uncertainty. And I need to try and make the gyms stay as profitable as possible throughout this entire time. And then the same thing for our members. Like, our members are going to be surrounded by all this chaos and fear mongering and everything like that. So we want to be a beacon of light during that time period for them. So, like you say, for their mental health or the physical health, that they have an outlet of somebody being positive, somebody there, somebody actually supporting them during this time of just complete and utter chaos. So when we saw that happening, but also we saw it as like another opportunity. One of the reasons that the gyms for me kicked off to a lot of success is I was one of the first people ever using ads for gyms. Like, nobody was ever using it back then when I first started. So then going into this time, it's, hey, here's another opportunity for us to stand up and be the brand leader. When everybody else is shutting down and closing their doors and saying, oh, go take a break, it's like, hey, you may not be able to come into our gym, but we're still going to come to you.
Right.
We're going to figure out a way. So like, literally locked myself up in a room for the weekend and completely, like, over 48 hours, built an entire digital platform for the gym so that all of our clients had resources for that, no matter where they were. I was like, hey, what are some good tools out there that I can model? And it was like, Beachbody, biggest fitness brands out there. They do these, on-demand services. So boom, we created on-demand. And then on top of that, because community is so big, and we had a bunch of our team members from your gym and my gyms They were willing to stand up. So we put on the live workouts so that they could still get the energy and the community while being at home. And our
Right.
community responded to it. And then from a business standpoint, it was like, hey, all of our members and then also the community outside of it are going to need a little extra push. They're going to need somebody to stay on top of them. So we launched a challenge at the same time to keep them excited, to keep them going, and to say, hey, right now you can buckle up, you can eat all your food, and you can kind of go in the opposite direction, or you can actually use this as an opportunity to make some change and focus on you while it's a scary time. So we did that, and we launched it with like a 5-day launch, and it absolutely crushed as well. Dude, and it was the same formula I've used over and over and over again too.
I got to give it to you there. Like that was so like timeline, right? Pandemic hit, everybody shut down. You're like, guys, I don't know if we're going to shut down. And all of a sudden, like, boom, we're all shut down. And then like, you're like, we're doing this challenge. I think all the franchisees were on a call. And this, I got to tip my hat to you. This was an excellent job by you and this great leadership, right? Like, at times like that, like you can get scared. And I'm not going to lie, I was worried, right? But I've never been through it before. And I just opened 3 months ago. But then you're like, this is what we're going to do. This is how it's going to work. And maybe me being dumb and just following benefited me, right? Not overthinking it. I'm like, oh, okay, it's going to work. And I just followed it. But like for you to be able to go out and say, this is what's happening, clear your mind, think of this is the way we can help, this is the way we can grow, this is what we're going to do, put a plan together, and then boom, implement it within days, right? Was amazing. So like timeline, pandemic hit, we all shut down. You came by, we're going to do a virtual challenge. This is what's going to happen. This is how we're going to get through this. Pitch it to us. Not only did you just pitch it and tell us to do it, but you like got on there like, I'm going to be part of it. I'm going to do the orientation. I think you probably haven't done an orientation in a long time, so you might have wanted to do that a little bit, right? It might have been fun. And we had hundreds of people on that live orientation. It was great. Members were posting. They were going out. I mean, we had every single legion. There were people from Delaware, from Jersey, from Maryland, from Florida, from PA, everywhere. We're on all these live streams and doing this challenge. And like that level of leadership was like, okay, we're not going to falter, we're not going to buckle. And like having that conviction you had really got us through it. So like at times of like, you have to have like certainty through, you have to have like conviction through uncertainty, right? Like a time like that, this is what I'm going to do. This is how we're going to work it. Nobody's going to stop us. And boom, we just went and like, that's the closest thing we have to a recession. But when I saw that, I'm like, wow, playing defense did not benefit. We had to come up with a plan and immediately go on the offensive.
And like two things, like one, as a result of that, like, and we talked about this before, we kept signing people up.
Right.
5 to 10 new clients every single week. But originally we didn't know what it was going to look like. So we had to set the foundation and keep our mindset aligned with like, hey, why are we doing this and what are we doing it for? Now, I was like, crap, I've never been through this. And I have a ton of overhead. I have all these franchisees that are going to need support. So I was like, I need to figure out a way, even if it's not perfect, that we can get some traction and some momentum as we go into this and keep the excitement alive. And for me, it was that level. I didn't know what the hell was going to happen, but it was exciting because it's like, I love that. I love moving fast. And that's one of the things that's always helped me in business is just being able to move with speed.
Quick, decisive decisions.
Ready, fire, aim. Like, here's the idea. Let's launch it. Let's see what works. It doesn't work. We can improve and reiterate on it and get it out there. But there were some things that we had to change. Like I knew that going into this, that when we launched it, and we launched that the challenge, I also knew that pricing, we changed than what we normally launch.
Right.
Because we wanted to make it a no-brainer so that one, the consumers would sign up without even thinking about it. So we used a price point that psychologically they don't even need to like chat with anybody for. It's just boom, I'll do it. But also one where I didn't know if people were going to have sales team hitting the phones, or even like mentally they were going to be, because, our team was scared. How would they handle this? So I was like, I wanted to make sure that we could launch this thing. So that's why I was like, hey, I'll lead this thing. I'll run with it. I'll do all the emails, all the posts, all the videos. We did all that stuff. So I kind of took that because I was like, hey, I'll be able to deliver this and crush it. But then also make it so that somebody it was a no-brainer to sign up, and we didn't even have to have a phone call to do that. So we made some iterations to it so that it would work with the time. And I think as you go into a recession, like you're going to, one, keep the momentum going. You might have to tweak some of the stuff that you do or how you do it. But still the foundational components are still going to be there. Right. The biggest thing is like for us, we kept marketing. We marketed hard.
Right.
So like as a business perspective, keep on marketing. Like
Right.
that's where you can take market share. When everybody are kind of pulling back, and oftentimes like they see advertising as an expense, but since we use a lot of direct response, we know it's just an investment. Maybe our investment's not going to be as fruitful during a downturn. That's okay, but I'm still going to be the one who's in my community putting it out there for my ideal clients, so they're going to see me as a consistent message, or me or my brand or whatever other brand during this time when everybody else isn't.
Right.
So that right there helps me elevate the brand, which is why like I would double down and plan on doubling down during the upcoming recession for the gyms or any of the other brands.
Right.
And I think that's where like a lot of companies like, we need to cut here, we need to save here. It's like, hey, this is a time where maybe your margin gets down a little bit, and that's okay. It doesn't have to be. I'm just saying, like, potentially depending on the business, maybe it goes down so you can get that upswing afterwards. I think somebody shared Prime. Amazon Prime was started during a recession. Not making any money on it. But now, like, who doesn't use Prime? Right. And it also set the standard for every other company too.
And to kind of go to that, like I had a conversation with, Coach Tim in Happer, and I was like, hey, dude, I'm like, this is a time where we're going to have to, and like, maybe you do downsize, right? I'm like, dude, we're going to make a little bit less, right? We're not going to make what we made. But we're going to have to work 10 times as hard, and get paid a little bit less, but we're going to survive through this. We're going to be okay. Everything's going to be fine. So I got a buy-in from him. Let's hunker down. I'm going to work with you, right? I'm not taking any money out of it. I'm going to keep you as close to what I paid you as possible. And let's do everything we can. And we're going to work 10 times as hard to get all these people results, keep them healthy, because when we come out of this, our members will be better for it and we'll be better for it. And I remember having that conversation with him. He's like, I'm all in. Let's do it. Never had to like send him home or lay him off or anything like that. Kept him floating through there. So we went further, right? Margins got smaller. We didn't profit as much, right? But on the tail end of it, our members respected us for everything we did and all the effort that we put out. And we went above and beyond for them for less money to make it through there. And we survived as a business. Tim survived as a manager of our location, and our members thrived. They did much better. So I think like during a recession, there's two things, right? There's what is it, like a necessity and like a nice to have thing, right? And I think that the first thing people cut is like, okay, I have a Hulu, a Disney, a YouTube, and a blah, blah, blah subscription, right? What are they going to cut? Like, okay, we only need Disney because let's just keep the kids sedated, right? Like that's the most important one. That we don't need the other ones, right? So they start cutting things off. We'll cut Netflix, we'll cut Hulu, we'll cut all this stuff, right? But like, I think as what we did was we didn't become like a commodity, we became a necessity, right? So we put the messaging out. So if you're a business, you need to understand marketing is an essential thing, and that is the last thing that should go, because when that goes, your business goes. Right? Yep. So marketing and sales is the last thing that goes. It's the first thing you should do when you're in business, and it's the last thing that you should take out if you're struggling, right? Cut all the other stuff. You don't need a new computer. You don't need a new operating system. You don't need a new CRM system. You don't need to hire another virtual assistant. Do the numbers yourself. Go punch your stuff in the spreadsheet. Get rid of all the extra expenses. Marketing and sales have to stay. So as a business, you need to understand marketing is a necessity. So in a recession, in a downturn, you may get leads for cheaper, but you're still going to grow clients. And when all the businesses fail around you, those clients are, if they're not coming back now, they're going to eventually come back. And now you have more market share and you're going to be more profitable in the future. So never cut marketing, never cut sales. You just need to double down on that and you'll make it through. Like we said, the same money's out there. And you have to market your category as an essential too, right? Like we both own marketing companies. I'm going to tell my attorneys, the dumbest thing you can do during a recession and a downturn is cut your marketing spend. That should be my most profitable time. My business should blow up bigger than it is now. If we hit a real bad recession, people get more litigious, they sue more people, right? They're trying to get money easier. People are struggling and they're going to go out and they're sue happy, right? So if an attorney's not spending more with me during a recession or a downturn, they're out of their mind and they're missing an opportunity to blow their business up.
Yeah. So one, I 100% agree with you. Like, you have to view and understand that your business is a necessity and you have to believe it. So like with gyms, I think gyms are kind of recession proof to a degree because that is so important for people to focus on their health, their physical and their mental health. And that's what gyms are there for. So one, as a leader, I think that's the other thing is you got to be a leader for your community, a leader for your team. And especially during, going into downturns, that's where you have to step up. And maybe that means you practice some delayed gratification where you're like, hey, I don't need as much right now. I'm going to keep more in the business. I'm going to focus on the team. I'm going to like invest more into the communities and everything like that, so that I can reap the reward in the next couple of years, or coming out of this, or buying other businesses during this time because they're going to be on a discount.
Right.
But then it's also like you have to put it out there and be like, hey, like this is the key time. This is not this is like, so many people are going to view it as a negative thing. Like, no, this is an opportunity. This is amazing. Like, it's gonna suck, yeah, but it'll be good. Like, shitty times don't last forever. But there's more opportunity now than ever. And the other thing too is kind of an adage that I've always done in business. And I don't always follow this, but I try to, when I remember, to my best is to be different. Generally speaking, you're going to want to do the opposite thing of what everybody else is doing. So if people are pulling, back, you go forward.
Right.
If, when we started with the gyms, like our front end offers were high ticket offers, whereas everybody else at the time were offering low ticket offers. So we were offering something completely different and like 10 times, if not more than 10 times more expensive than what our competitors were doing.
Right. By doing what everybody else does, you commoditize yourself, right? It's just a commodity. You're every gym membership, you're the same as everyone. Just let me pick one.
Exactly. So and that's for any business. So take a look at, hey, what are they putting out there? What are they doing? How can I do the opposite? Because most people are going to get it wrong. So if you can kind of take that viewpoint, it'll probably give you an edge, So, and then as long as you lead your team and keep focused on, it's not about what happens tomorrow and this month. It's like, hey, what can happen in 3, 5, and 10 years? Because that's the opportunity that a recession will give. Not like, I'm not saying, I don't think anybody looks forward to it. Right. It's not going to be super fun, but I do know in the fitness space, 2 big ass brands started during the last recession. Like my old mentor, Sam, he started his business, and Fit Body Bootcamp started that, so those, I think even like the boot camp model was essentially created.
Dude, it's such a good model, but just think through the boot camp model, right? Personal training is extremely expensive, right? And a $30, $40 a month gym membership doesn't get you what you need. So it was like a perfect medium where it's so much value for your money. So somebody said, how can I find a solution for this? And they come in and everybody's like, wow, I can get the benefits of this and not get all the negatives of this without paying that.
Yeah. And that's why, so going into that too for the fitness industry, there's a swing right now that's going back to more semi-private training, which isn't a bad thing at all. However, when we're going into maybe a downturn, and everybody gets impacted during that time, you said earlier, sometimes those nice to haves are going to get cut. So if your membership is $39 to $49 a week versus, anywhere from $125 to $300 a week, which one is going to be most likely to get cut?
Right.
So in sometimes those people, we all assume everybody has great money habits and nobody has good money habits. So the people that are maybe able to afford your personal training or semi-private training, they might get crushed during a recession. Maybe they lose their job. Maybe they get a pay cut. Maybe they're a business owner that's not doing well. And everything like that. So that's one of the things that I see the shift in the industry going a lot to semi-private and personal training. One, I just like group training better personally.
I do too.
It's better leverage. I think, and I do like semi-private training. Obviously we offer it. I think it's great for some people, but I think especially as we go into this downturn, it's like, hey, if that's all you offer, then you might be a little bit more risk. Just because it is a higher end luxury item. And we could argue that group training is also a luxury item. I don't know anything about Planet Fitness, but they'll probably be fucking fine. Right. But, I think a boot camp is going to be able to survive, because I don't even think, as we go into a recession, it's not going to be a depression. And it's not, I'm not in a class. I have no idea. I don't think it's going to be a recession. I mean, if we go to war, then we're screwed, which that is a potential, but we're not going to get into that. However, the likelihood of boot camp, that'll be absolutely fine throughout it. And it probably will end up thriving because the people that want personal training, maybe they can't afford it right now, but they still want to do training because they know how important it is. And they find that community, and it gives them that gleam of hope during that time. So I think the fitness industry is going to be in a great position. Well, if you're continue to progress forward, if you continue to market, lead gen companies, anytime, if there's downtime, what does the company need? Hey, we need more clients. We need more money. That's
You're
what a
selling,
marketing company
you're
does.
selling more clients. I mean, you should have any marketing company should blow up at that time. But when you're talking about gyms,
100%.
if you're doing semi-impersonal, right? As a business owner, you should identify, hey, this may happen. Oh, this is happening. And if you didn't offer boot camp, that could be something that you add to your business. So as a business owner, you should think, like, what can I add? Because if people cut these nice to haves and go to must haves, I can still serve my people. I can still keep them healthy. I can still build this community, albeit I make a little less, it's a little less profit, but I can still serve my community and keep my business afloat and still even grow it if I add this second offering to it.
Yep. You know what I was also just thinking too? Like, one of the big problems with a lot of personal training and semi-private training businesses too is their margin is all sorts of screwed up. So unfortunately, for some reason, a lot of gyms operate like with 10% margin, which blows my mind. Like, gyms should be operating with 30 to 50% margin. So while, like, one of the things you should focus on right now, if you haven't already, is like, let me get my shit in order. Let me clean up my house right now. So it's prime for me going in there. So hopefully I'm stacking up cash, right now to protect myself. Like, that was one of the things that really did help, during the pandemic when my gyms lost 50% of revenue. We got crushed, but I had tons of cash. So I was able to get it going. And then I pivoted and adjusted as accordingly. However, like, right now, we should really be focusing, hey, how can I optimize? How can I limit my expenses? Like you talked to them back then, but anybody's like, hey, we're going to keep this lean, but we're going to be here. We're not going to go anywhere. We're going to be lean. We might expect a little bit more out of you than a competitor would, but at least you're going to have a job here.
But have those clear communications with them, right?
Yes.
Like, you got to be open and honest and tell them and set the expectations.
100%. Be transparent. Be like, hey, listen, like, there's this stuff that's coming. I don't 100% know what's going on, but I know we're going to make it through. And we're doing things right now to make sure that not only will we make it through, but we're going to thrive while other places are shutting down. So take a look at your margin. And if you're a gym operating on 10% margin, you're running the wrong business model. And too many gym owners are, because they're like, what happens with semi-private and personal training is they don't actually build their own brand. They build other people's brands. So they end up giving like the majority and the lion's share away to the trainers, which is great. Like, you want to pay your staff well, but they also just don't think about any other expense in their business. Like, you have to make sure that your business has a healthy profit margin so it can have money to operate.
Well,
like, a business,
it's the equivalent of living paycheck to paycheck.
Well, yeah, but it's like they don't even. It's like, oh man, like, if I'm giving, 44% aligned to or assigned to like staffing, means you're going to have profit issues. So we want to make sure it's aligned. But then, how many coaches, when it comes to personal training, will give their trainers anywhere from 50% to even like 60, 75%? They're like, oh, I have 25% left over. It's like, well, you forget you have all these bills just to even operate. So, like, that's not even like, so then you're going to be left over with like 2%, 5%. And that's why so many coaches that run semi-private and personal training models are also doing a ton of the coaching, or they're just like, sitting back on super small margin or something like that. So in your business, get your margins and stuff fixed now. That's a really big thing. Take a look at, always focus on top line. Like, I know Cardone says, like, focus on growth, which is super important. But every once in a while, you need to take a look and be like, hey, am I wasting money in expenses?
Oh, yeah,
what are some stuff that I can cut? You always need to keep an eye on there. Don't focus, because you can only cut so much. And eventually, then you just got to make sure you're focusing on growth. But, like, make sure that, hey, take a look at, hey, where am I being wasteful? What are some stuff, maybe softwares or stuff like that I can cut? And then also, do I even have my model set up to be profitable? So don't wait until like we're deep in a recession to figure out, oh shit, I don't have a way to acquire new clients.
And
like,
you can reinvent your whole model during this recession, right? Learn how to run more profitable. And then when you're out of it and you have more clients, you're like, wow, I'm much more profitable now because I did what I needed to do and I did the reps and I figured out how to run my business and my model a more efficient, effective way. And now everything's back to normal and I'm good.
Yeah. And it's like, we're going to come out of it. We're going to be in an amazing space. And if you're there, you're going to be able to thrive. You're going to have that name out there. So there's a lot of, just from business side of things, like there's a lot of just opportunity if you own a business right now. And if you don't, or you're looking to expand, like, there's also a great time. I don't know much about real estate, as we like kind of shared. However, that is going to be like one of my focuses as we go over the next couple of years. Like, I'm just going to, and we've talked about this a lot, but it's like, I'm just going to make sure I grow my business.
Right.
and I just get more and more cash in that business, and I'm going to take that cash and I'm going to buy real estate. I'm going to buy real estate on the cheap compared to last couple of years. Do that
We've
for the next couple of years and just build this amazing portfolio as a result. That'll then just continue to set the family up.
we've talked about that multiple times,
Yep.
like probably a year
Yeah.
straight. We've been talking about this, but like when
Yes.
you said, why do you keep so much money in your business? Or why do you keep so much cash on hand? It's because I'm the sky's always falling. I have to be comfortable. But like if you deploy that cash, like I don't know enough about real estate as I should, but I know that the price was X and now it's Y and it looks like it's trending towards Z, right? It's very simple.
Yeah.
So like a house I could have bought for this is now this. And if it keeps going down, it's that. And I'm like, okay, well, my money goes further now, right? So like the thing you do is like I've actually reduced, and I'm sharing this with you now for the first time, like live on this, but I've actually reduced payouts in the business and I'm keeping more cash in the business for the event of a rainy day, something happens, we're going into a recession, then I can deploy that capital towards like investments, or I can acquire clients for less or lower my margin and still be able to pay my employees. So I'm kind of like conserving cash right now, stopping all the stupid expenses and the payouts that we don't really need because I can live off of a lot less than I get paid. Right. And I'm making sure the business is okay. And then my personal, I'm stacking cash for the opportunities in real estate or the other opportunities that come on, or businesses that are found that I can take over and I can, install somebody and make that profitable during that time with something that I have expertise with. So I'm getting ready for this thing. So you as an entrepreneur or even like your personal, you should be, I don't know about conserving, like if a good deal comes up, buy it, but like I'm getting ready to look for the opportunities and survive if I need to. And hopefully this never happens and the recession's not bad and we don't have to worry about it, but I'm going to be able to pounce on the opportunities when they come along.
Yeah. So I see like there's going to be 4 levels of opportunity that people can capitalize moving forward on, like in the next upcoming years. If you're a business owner, you can keep just like trudging forward and taking market share, keep on marketing and keep on focusing on growth and leading in your industry. That alone is going to let you grow. You can go into new markets. You can start a new business if you aren't in business because people are going to stop marketing and they're going to stop trying to go and they're going to get scared. So now you're going to have an opportunity with less noise to carve a dent for yourself. There's also like opportunity to buy businesses. So that'll be like the third thing. You can go out there and buy businesses, most likely with nothing down. Like somebody's like, hey, I just need to I need to get out of this business. I want to retire, blah, blah, blah. You'd be like, hey, I'll buy this for X and pay you off of profit or time frame or whatever.
And you're like, I can turn this thing. You look at what they're doing.
Exactly.
You're like, I can turn this thing into a money-making machine. Appreciate the handoff.
Exactly. And then, so that's like the third thing. And the fourth thing is you could be like, hey, I'm going to get into real estate. Or I'm going to, I guess the fifth thing too is like get in, buy index, funds and stuff like that. There's all that opportunity. So there's like 5 ways right now that you could deploy time and capital to take advantage of the upcoming recession.
Right. I watch my my IRA I'm down like probably 20-something% this year. I mean, if it goes down worse, it's like, okay, cool. Everybody's going to be like, I'm out. They stop buying or they're selling. I'm like, you can buy more. You can buy more shares of a company, right? Like, so it's like almost like, hey, if I put this $1,000 for this company, you don't think of it like it's worth less. You're like, oh my God, I can own more of a percentage of Tesla now than I could have with my other $1,000.
And that's kind of the thing, though. That's the human nature is when it's the time to get into something is when people leave.
Right.
So you have to be able to, whether it's any sort of investment, is to look long term. It's to not look tomorrow or 1 year or whatever. It's like, hey, we look at indexes historically over the last 800 years, they always go up. So now it's going to be down. But if you're like, hey, I'm going to actually gobble up more because I know I'm not even going to need this stuff for the next 30 years anyway, and it's going to be up from where it is today. Like I could probably pretty strongly make that assumption. Same thing with real estate. There's more risk in business.
And it's a necessity. Real estate's a necessity as well, too, because people, no matter if it's a recession, depression, anything happens, people need shelter. So I don't know if you need to buy a luxury Airbnb that's $50,000 a night, right? But like affordable housing, that's literally the most needed thing in the country in a downturn. People need, okay, I can't spend $5,000 a month on rent, but I can spend $1,500.
Yeah. So, and like that's, and same thing. Like I don't know enough about real estate. I know that when I always look at it, that's where the smartest business owners do is they use their business to generate cash so they can buy real estate. So like that's where, as opposed to like historically, I've had a lot of shiny object syndrome and it served me well and also not well at times. But I think, you and I have talked about this where like the last couple of months, I was just like, I don't want to have all these different things I'm focusing on. I just want to focus on only one thing and one thing only. And even in the future, like, and it's like, instead of like maybe some verticals that integrate into it, I just want to have this one thing and then put it elsewhere so that like I can take my time and then spend it with my family and not, have to worry about all these other things just because I can. So I think that, again, I don't know a lot about real estate, so I'm spending the time, to learn more about it. But then the next step is just to take action and, start getting in there, getting in the game. And now the next couple of years is going to be a good time to get in the game. But there's so much opportunity. There's so many ways that people can take advantage of what's to come.
And you don't need to be an expert on real estate. It's very simple, right? This house costs X dollars. It's a duplex, right? It rents out for Y dollars. My profit's Z. Good investment, right? Like you don't need to be a master, right? Decent area. Just start with where you live, right? I know this is a decent area. Like, is it going to be the next, like, whatever? I don't know, but I know it's eventually going to appreciate. It's going to beat inflation. Your money in your bank account is going to be worth a lot less than that property is, and you're getting cash flow, and they're paying off your mortgage, and it's almost like a retirement plan for you. And it's a big set of bricks that's not going anywhere. Right. So you don't need to know much, but like for a recession, right? Like the things you need to do personally, look for opportunities, right? If you always wanted to get into business, like Bob said, there may be businesses going under where you're like, oh my God, this is a business, and you studied and you bought some courses and marketing, sales. I'm like, oh my God, and you talk to business owner, I'm like, oh my God, they're missing a huge opportunity here. Yeah, I'd love to take this over, right? And you get it for pennies on the dollar, right? And there's your start and you're able to do it. Or B, you know what I mean? You personally invest in real estate that's going down and now it's at a place where you can afford it now, right? And if you're already in business, market and get more clients and eat up your market share. If there's 10 gyms in a 10-mile radius and 5 of them go out of business, the other 5 should be more profitable. It's just simple logic.
Those clients are going to want to go somewhere. And like, that's the thing. Like, so talk about the stuff that I know, which is business and marketing.
Right.
What we're coming into is like the prime time to keep on pushing, keep on putting those advertising dollars in, and even like, I just don't know why people don't advertise, period. Some businesses just don't.
I will never. I yell at you sometimes when my advertising spends too low. I'm like, yo, what the heck is your team doing, dude? Bump my advertisers. You're like, you don't need to spend $200. I'm like, I don't care, dude. Spend more.
So like, and that's the thing. And that's always the debate is, so for local gyms, about $100 a day is what I find to be the best. Can you go up to 150? Yes. But there becomes a point in the local market where you get some diminishing returns. And Angelo, you are trying to push every single boundary to figure out when does that point actually happen. But like in some gyms are great where you can, spend $25 to, $100 a day. That's generally where our goal is for a local gym. And, during a recession, I'm going to keep spending $100 a day. We're not going to stop. Does that mean that maybe my ROI might go down? Possibly. But as long as I'm break even, I'm okay.
Right, and you're adding members, and it's recurring revenue, dude. And it's like, it's okay. So take all your non-essentials, get rid of them, and put them in the essentials. And as a business, like you said, marketing and sales, those are your essentials. Last time, I'll tell you a story. I love watches. Everybody that knows me knows this. I had a watch that I got for my wedding. It's one with a 10-year waiting list. Probably the only chance I'd ever get to buy it in my life. And Tim knows the story. I sold that watch and I said, I'm going to put that money into marketing and as a cushion for the business, and we're going to make it through. And I had the conversation with him. I'm making sacrifices. All the nice to haves are gone. Let's do this shit. And he's like, let's do it. And that's why we're in the position we're in. We kept marketing. We kept selling. We kept moving forward. We had a little bit of cushion and we just drove. And we had that conviction that we're going to make it through regardless. You as a business need that.
But I think,
and FYI, I got that watch back. It took me 3 years, but I did get it back. I paid more than I sold it for, but I got it back.
Plus way more watches too. But I think what you said is really important is sacrifice. People aren't willing to sacrifice enough for the things that they want in the future that they can have. Right. And if more people would be willing to sacrifice, then they would be able to achieve anything that they wanted. Right. But unfortunately, most people are just... And I feel like I was listening to some of the older clips from this, and I was like, most people. Like, I should just say, everybody, I think, can benefit from just believing in themselves more and taking more risk on themselves. And that's what's allowed you and I to achieve the things that we have and to live the lifestyles that we are fortunate to be able to, is because we bet heavy on ourselves and we took that risk. And
Right.
there's no better time to bet on yourself than now. If you haven't already done it, just do it now.
But guess
Because
what
the
people are
worst thing
going to
that's
bet
going to
on?
happen is you fail and then you just learn and then reiterate.
Guess what people bet on? They go bet on a sports team. They go bet on cards. They go bet on dice, right?
Yeah.
When you can't control any of that. You can't control what card is next. You can't control what number lies on that die. You can't control if that quarterback breaks his leg in the first quarter and now the odds are stacked against you. But if you bet on yourself, you can control your actions day in and day out and the decisions you make. So like Bob said, in a recession, bet on yourself. Be willing to bet on yourself. We're so willing to bet on other people. Bet on yourself.
And it's scary. That's okay. But once you get a little taste of victory and you start like believing what's truly possible, it's going to get infectious and you're going to start developing more skills. And the more skills that you develop, the better you're going to be able to do.
It's addictive.
I think back to what made me fall in love with direct response marketing was I picked up Dan Kennedy's book. I literally just used the framework that it gave me almost word for word, wrote some sales copy for personal training, threw it on Craigslist and got clients. And I was like, whoa, this works. Now, it was like 1 or 2 clients that I got from that, but it showed me the power of marketing. And then I just went all in on it and got obsessive. And that's what's allowed, like, we use direct response marketing to grow an epic gym brand. It's how I generally launch any business, is through direct response marketing. And then over time, develop that brand, because then eventually you want to get to that brand piece.
So if I were,
that's like where true legacy's built.
So if I were a new, let's say, middle of the pack business owner right now, I see the looming recession. Yep. What skills would you tell me to invest in and learn now? And how would you tell me to learn those and prepare myself for this, right? Because we talked about downsizing some time with like employees or unnecessary expenses. We talked about learning marketing. We talked about looking sales, but I know that you can hire a marketing company. You can hire a sales company, right? Like, what would you suggest somebody focuses on now preparing for a looming recession as a business owner?
It's a great question. And I don't think it necessarily changes versus if it was a good market or not. Like, you need to just invest in those skills. And I think, going to gym owners, what I see right now happening is a lot of gym owners, instead of actually developing the skills, like, they'll go and pay a marketing agency. So I don't just run ads for gym owners. Like, I teach gym owners how to run their own ads, because it's such a strong skill to have. Whereas these companies will prey on people, especially prey on gym owners, and they're paying out the ass, and they don't know how to run ads, and it takes a minute to put up an ad. Right. Yeah, like over time, if you're writing your own copy and stuff like that, you're going to have to get better at writing copy, but that's like a skill that's developed. But I would just argue to learn to develop all those skills. Skills that have served me well is copywriting, being able to run paid traffic. Ads. So copywriting, paid traffic, sales, and then speaking. So I think those are the skills that I would develop, because when you develop those skills, when you get better at marketing, when you get better at sales, when you get better at public speaking. I think public speaking, because video is just growing more and more and more, that it's going to then give you the confidence to be a better leader. And people ask me like, "Oh, what are like some good books on developing like leadership?" Because I think leadership is going to be extremely important this upcoming time.
Right.
But I've never, I guess, done anything specific to leadership. I think Jocko Willink's Extreme Ownership is like hey, just use that as like your staple. And but I think it's like the more I've developed those skills, which has then increased the confidence in me, allows me to go into uncertain situations, but be certain on the outcome I'm going to create. So I would focus on really developing money-making skills. So copywriting, paid traffic, sales, and then speaking. Like, if you can develop those, then you're never going to worry about making money ever again.
And I would also too, and just to add to Bob, and I agree 100% with everything you said, I think one thing that you should look at now is, your P&Ls and keeping your payroll and like probably 30% or
Oh, yeah.
less. So like trimming the fat. If you're a gym owner and you have 15 different software and you're paying for all this stuff and it's all fluff and it's not, adding value to the members, cut it.
100%.
Cut it now. Because the more profitable you are now, going into the recession or going into a downturn, you'll have more room to shrink and still be profitable and survive, pay your employees, still service your clients and give them a great experience and survive. So really, really, really important. Cut the non-necessities, focus on the skill sets like marketing, sales, and leadership, which are necessities. And I think putting in leadership is really good. And I kind of didn't hit on that too much, but you're right. Like during that time, your employees will look to you because every time they turn on the news, CNN's going to say, the world's burning. Fox is going to say, the world's burning. They're going to say, down X percent, down X percent. This person lost their home. They're going to interview the person who lost everything, is living on a street in a cart right now. And you're going to look at that like, oh my God, am I next? And you as a leader need to tell your team, I will not let that happen to you. Here's what we're going to do. We're not going to be buying Bentleys and Ferraris over the next year. We're going to downsize a little bit, but I will never let that happen to you. Here's my plan. Are you with me? And get a buy-in from them. And if they're with you, you will thrive.
Yeah. That's such a good point. Like just not on top of leadership, but just like keep an eye on your expenses. Everybody just overspends because if you overspend personally, you're going to overspend in your business. So like really getting a good relationship with money and understanding how wealth is created. So getting that down and then keeping a look, because also the more profitable your business is, the more advantages you're going to be able to take, over the next couple of years. So allow yourself to have that capital to deploy it because you just got to get in the game sometimes. So I think that I love that. I think that's such a great point. I think that's a great point where we should end on for two reasons, because I'm not going to top it. What you just said. And two, my Starlink is going in and out, so it's going to get super choppy.